Yeah, in 2005, we had a church that we planted downtown Salt Lake City just a year and a half prior to that, and God was doing amazing things in our midst right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We saw so many people coming to know the Lord, coming from bonds of legalism or drug addiction, a lot of artists, a lot of young folks coming in and hearing about Jesus in a new format outside of the predominant faith here in Utah. Just the radical grace and love of Jesus. And as that was happening, God was working in my own life, teaching me about His love and about His grace. And as a musician, I had come off of the road of touring for so much of my life leading up to that in a secular band, and God had started pressing upon me melodies and ideas of God's love and His grace. I had a little piano, and I was plunking out chords and melodies on this old piano, and I didn't know it then, but I was writing a full-length album. Songs that would become so important to the DNA of our church, like Captured by Grace, and songs like Matters and Your Reach and the Lord's Prayer and Matchless, and on, these songs that were being penned that I didn't even know at the time would turn into an album, and yet they did. In 2005, we released Captured by Grace, and it was an important historical moment for our church, just in what was happening with people coming from all across the valley to hear about the grace and love of Jesus, but also because there was something new that was beginning. Musically, our church was starting to become known as a church where rock and roll was played, and Jesus was being taught, and more musicians were coming. More and more artists were coming off the streets and come into this old building that looked like a nightclub with great music and loud drums and real amplifiers, and musicians started pouring in, and they wanted to know more about Jesus, and they wanted to catch this vision of, can the best bands in the world come out of a local church? Can that really be a thing? Can we write and record the music that we want to write? Can we do that for Jesus? Can we do it through a local church? Well, 20 years have gone by, and for the past 20 years, that's exactly what God has been doing in our midst, raising up musicians, starting in youth group, all the way to being as old as me, and playing authentic music that God placed in their heart, be it alt country or indie or rock or whatever their style may be, to have them write that music and record that music and release that music through the local church. We've been doing it for 20 years strong. In really honor of what God's done, we thought it would be a special thing to take Captured by Grace 20 years later and reimagine some of these songs. So much time has gone by, obviously, but we've learned so much, yet God's grace and His power and Him working in our city has only been more beautiful. And with that, we wanted to re-release Captured by Grace with new spins on some of the songs, just to breathe new life into some of this music that we've been singing for 20 years, and then also to include many of the musicians that have been raised up over the years through our church, the Rock Church right here in Utah, and have them do their own rendition of some of these songs that were recorded 20 years ago. We are very excited about what God has done in the past 20 years, and we are so excited about what He's going to do for the next 20. We feel like God has handpicked us to be in this place for such a time as this, and we're excited for more.